What's up, fellow Autism? Happy 2016. I finally got into the cult of Nintendo 64 flashcarts. This is the SummerCart64, a rookie in the flashcart scene, but it definitely packs a punch. How so? Let's find out. I grew up with the Nintendo 64. It was my very first game console. I got it at the time the Xbox 360 came out, which might have been a stupid decision by my parents, but you know, it is what it is. I played the shit out of my 64, especially with my sister. We'd always play Tony Hawk together and we had a lot of fun. Now, why am I bringing up my past? Well, in recent years, my Nintendo 64 has become one of my most neglected consoles, and here's why. One, I got someone to install Tim Worthington's N64 RGB mod, but shit like this is happening. My eyes! My eyes! And just in case you can't see it on your display, yeah. Now, I'm not throwing shade to the guy who installed my mod. It's not his fault. He did a great job. I just think there's an issue with V1 of the N64 RGB, which is the version I had. I tried installing a 3.3 volt regulator and a little resistor here, and it didn't fix the issue. So I think there's just an issue with these boards in general. So not his fault, but it really sucks. And two, I only have a finite amount of games. I never got to play the real N64 classics. Yeah, I have Mario 64, Rayman 2, Smash Bros, Ocarina of Time, and all that, but I never got to experience GoldenEye, or Perfect Dark, or Conker's Bad Fur Day, or 1080 Snowboarding, or Banjo-Kazooie. I missed out, so finally I have a chance to play these gems because of this thing. Now, the SummerCart64 is an open source flashcard initially made by Mateusz Fedorewski, and you can usually find them from several different resellers on AliExpress for cheap. I got mine from Epicjoy for about 55 bucks, which is great because the only comparable alternative, the EverDrive X7, is $160. Now, you can buy the cheaper X5 for only 100 bucks, but you lose out on the real-time clock and save in certain games without having to reset the console, and that's a big deal to me. My reset button barely works. Like, okay, yeah, my RGB mod has an in-game reset function, but what if I didn't have that? I wouldn't be able to save. So if I get a flashcard that does everything the X7 does for only 55 bucks, that's a steal. Like, sure, okay, you have to deal with shipping from China, and you know, shipping from China can take a while, but I'd rather do that than pay 80 bucks on Amazon to get it tomorrow, or 140 bucks to get it in a month. Are you kidding me? So I've been messing with this thing for about a week or so, and I have some things to say, but first, let's see what's inside the box. So in the box, you get the SummerCart itself and a USB SD card reader. I didn't record more of the unboxing because I didn't know there was more in the box, but there is more in the box. You get a manual, you get a little QR code card, I guess to, what is this? Oh, Discord, official store, and a video tutorial. Interesting. That, and you also get 3 replacement stickers in case you want to replace the sticker on your cartridge. One of them, by the way, that looks AI generated. Yep, this is the reason why GPU, storage, and RAM prices are through the roof. Better get used to it. Now on the card itself, there is a micro SD card slot. Please focus, please focus, please focus, thank you. There's a micro SD card slot. There is a USB-C port for upgrading the firmware, updating the real-time clock, and doing some development debugging and stuff. And on the back, I almost dropped it, on the back, there is a little red button, and that is for 64DD disc swapping. Yeah, you can play 64DD games on here. I'll get to that later. Now back to the micro SD card slot for a sec. I can't take out the SD card with my bare hands. Like, I can pop it out, but I can't take out the SD card. There's a stupid ridge that gets in my way, and it's just like, my fingers are just too damn big for this. So I have to use one of my tweezers to take out the micro SD card. Like, why? I wish this gap wasn't here. Like, why couldn't it be like the EverDrive X7 where it's just sticking out of the side of the cartridge? Why is there a gap here? Like, it's annoying when I want to, you know, take out the SD card, you know, add games and shit. It's bullshit. Like, I have to, it's one extra step. I have one extra damn piece of material. I don't fucking know. Like, whatever. I mean, it's fine. Whatever, it's annoying, but it's fine. All right, with all that out of the way, let's boot this shit up and see what it can do. Right off the bat, you got your menu, you know, average flashcart things. My cart came with a 32GB micro SD card, which is enough to fit the entire N64 library and some change. Now, I do worry that the SD card might fail on me one of these days because it is a cheap SD card from AliExpress. So what I suggest you do is back everything up and transfer it to a good name brand SD card, just so it just won't fail on you in like a year. And of course, with stuff like this that come from China, there is a boatload of games already preloaded. Yeah, Nintendo? Hey, can you send a nuke to Epic Joy and AliExpress? So, like, they're selling illegal flashcarts with illegal ROMs, and that's, like, you know, illegal and shit. Yeah, right? Like, who in their right mind would spend $55 on a flashcart with all these illegal ROMs when you can buy legitimate N64 cartridges like Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut for a cool $1,000? Right? 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 All right, well, thank ya. Bye. Well, that was my good deed for today. All joking aside, every game I've thrown at it works as expected, even the PAL ones. Keep in mind, those will output PAL even on an NTSC console like mine, so if you're not in PAL land and don't have a decent scaler, you may need to force NTSC output for them to work on your CRT. Loading times are quick too, also as expected. Even the largest games load pretty quickly. I didn't notice anything off with the games I tried. Just works, man. And thank God I can save some of my games without having to reset the console. That would have been annoying if I wasn't able to do that. Now keep in mind, this isn't gonna emulate a controller pack. You'll still need one to save most games, and unfortunately these things fill up really quickly. But one of the answers to that is a built-in controller pack manager. You can back up an entire controller pack or individual notes to the SD card, and that's cool. You can restore an image backup to the pack itself, but you can't restore individual notes, which kinda sucks. Hey, 8-bit mods. Can you please make a memcard pro for the N64? I will buy it. Here's all the ones I have. Take my goddamn money. Now, another reason why I wanted to get a flashcard was to try the anti-aliasing patches. In case you didn't know, the N64 is known for its blurry video output, even with an RGB mod. The console is applying a horizontal blur to the image, which you can get rid of with certain RGB mods or scalers like the RetroTink 5X or 4K. But on top of that, most games have anti-aliasing enabled, making that already blurry 240p image even more blurry. Now you can apply these patches one or two ways. You can patch the ROM itself with a patcher, or you can use GameShark codes. And the SummerCart does support GameShark codes like the EverDrive does, but keep in mind, just like the EverDrive, you'll need an expansion pack for it to work. Now I got it working in Mario 64 and it looks really sharp and quite nice, might I add. I also got it working with Smash Brothers and it kind of gives the game sort of a PS1 style look to them. The downside of the patches, however, is the added dither, and sometimes it's a bit too much. Also, some of the patches don't seem to do anything other than add dither. I've noticed this in Tony Hawk 1-3 and Banjo-Kazooie. I don't get it. It's funny because on a lot of N64 games, anti-aliasing is disabled when you pause the game, so it just shows that some of these patches flat out don't work. But honestly, it's not a big deal. I think the anti-aliasing is just part of the N64's look. There's not really a huge need to change it in my opinion unless you want the absolute sharpest video possible. Alright, so here's one of the cool things about the SummerCart, 64DD emulation. Now in case you don't know, the 64DD was Nintendo's disc-based add-on for the N64 that was initially planned to launch with the console, but it was delayed several times, and eventually the thing was released 3 years past its due date, didn't catch on, was discontinued after a little over a year, and never left Japan. Only 9 games came out for the console, and several games that were planned to release on the DD were released on a regular cartridge instead. There's nothing really noteworthy about the library, to be honest. There's the Mario Artist titles, which let you draw a monstrosity and make a 3D monstrosity. There's Doshin the Giant, where you're basically playing God. There's the F-Zero X expansion kit, which adds 12 new courses and a track editor, and it makes the music play in stereo instead of mono. And then there's the 64DD's killer app, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64. This is what made the 64DD take off. Where else are you gonna find the most realistic golf simulator ever made? Tiger Woods, eat your heart out. Overall, 64DD games play fine, at least the ones that exist. Included on the SD card is a canceled DD version of Super Mario 64. I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised to hear that the music sounded a little different. Now, the save game I loaded had 118 stars, and the remaining 2 stars were on Tiny Huge Island, and those were the Wiggler fight and the red coins. Unfortunately, entering the area where both of them are crashes the game. I thought this was a flashcard issue, but apparently that's just how it is. It's busted. So 100% of the game is impossible. Womp womp. Now, another cool thing about flashcards is that you can run homebrew and ROM hacks on real hardware. I got the 240p test suite up and running, but because the N64 version is in alpha, it doesn't have a lot of features compared to the other versions. I wanted to calibrate my RetroTinks ADC for the best possible colors, brightness, and contrast, but the N64 version didn't have the test patterns I needed, so I ended up using the SNES version of the suite to actually calibrate everything. Yeah, the flashcard menu has some emulators on it. I'll get to those shortly. In terms of ROM hacks, I only tried 3. Super Mario Star Road works, but runs pretty poorly. There's tons of slowdown, and the game is cropped a little for some reason. At least there's no anti-aliasing here. I tried The Legend of Zelda: The Missing Link, and it looks great. It's a hack for Ocarina of Time that has its own story set between the events of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. However, I played around for 25 minutes, got confused, probably because I went too far too early, and quit. I know, I need to spend more time with this shit. And then I tried Smash Remix, which is basically Smash 64 Definitive Edition. This has a shit ton of characters, a lot of them non-Nintendo characters like Crash and Sonic, and there's a shit ton of new courses, and that's awesome. I hear people use NetPlay with this all the time. Like, I need to try that out someday. One more thing, the emulators. I mentioned before that there's a SNES emulator on the cart, but there's also NES, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color emulators on here too, and of course, the SD card came with a bunch of games. Now, there's not a lot to write home about. The NES emulation is fine for what it is. The Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulators run in 480i for some reason instead of 240p like the gods intended, but you know, it's otherwise fine. SNES emulation is okay, but it really isn't that accurate. It doesn't emulate Mode 7 well at all. Also, you can't pause the game with the start button. You have to press Z and A. Like, that's weird. Like, why not have Z and A be the select button, Z and B be the menu button, and the start button be the start button? Anyways, the emulators are pretty cool, but they're not a selling point. Like, you're not getting a Nintendo 64 flashcard just to play a broken version of F-Zero. So what are my final thoughts on the SummerCart? Well, this is a must-have for any N64 owner. If you don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a collection and want to play every single N64 game under the sun and more, like, this is a no-brainer. This does everything the EverDrive X7 does for $100 less, and that is incredible. Compatibility is great. The 64DD support is top-notch. I love that I can back up my save data and play cool ROM hacks on real hardware, and it's cheap. My only gripes is that the emulators need some work, and this goddamn micro SD card slot, like, it sucks. This micro SD card slot sucks. But other than that, buy it. 5 out of 5. Like, this is the most bang for your buck flashcard on the market, but don't overpay for these. Like, don't spend more than $65 on this thing. I'm looking at you, Kaiko. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. And if you're looking for more ENunnGaming, check out my review of Slave Zero. Have a good one, y'all, and I'll see you soon. Bye.